Hi, folks. Let's cut to the chase. The Haddonfield School District is facing some tough times right now. Like many districts across the land, and all do, for the same reason. That reason being the wholesale push for the so-called woke agenda. With 3 Board of Education seats up for grabs in the coming election, taxpayers need to be made more aware of what they're paying for. They're not going to be happy with what they see. Neither are parents who spoke up loud and long at the board's meeting this past May 12th. Since most residents can't possibly take the time to attend BOE meetings, we have a 30-minute video version of that meeting 2 months ago, which I call BOE Show and Tell. It pretty much tells the whole story. Parents are angry about changes being made to the curriculum more or less surreptitiously. And they complain that the board does not respond to inquiries and concerns. Ill-advised curriculum adjustments are not only resented, they also promise to lead to grade inflation, which inevitably leads to the deflation of a district's reputation. Grade inflation, sooner or later, lowers the district's ranking, which ultimately affects property values. This is disastrous for an affluent community. We, the residents, have a responsibility to listen to the protests of these embattled parents and come to their aid. We need to be resolute in understanding the situation, and we need to vote accordingly. In November, when you watch the BOE Show and Tell video, here's a quick sneak preview of what you'll see. As I had heard, the board is going through some tough times, and so it is. This is due mostly to a number of concerned parents venting their understandable misgivings about questionable initiatives being considered by the board. Since we have a BOE election coming up in November, you might like to watch the following homemade video clips of highlights from that meeting. At issue is a number of proposed revisions to Controversial Issues Policy 2240, which, among other considerations, allows for teachers to voice their subjective opinions in the classroom. The things became especially testy during a public litany of objections of these revisions when a resident at the microphone turned to the audience and began lecturing about the need, according to her, for more sex education. One side saying, yes, this needs to be implemented now. The other side saying, not here, not now, not my kid. And so I ended up having to have the sex talk with them before they went off to college. This is what provoked the sudden outburst, not my kid.
When you think about sexual education in 4th grade or whatever grade it is age appropriate, intimate. No, you guys, you're not.
Such is the public's reaction to the board's plans to implement certain so-called woke policies into the curriculum. Parents are especially agitated with the thought that their children might be exposed to questionable content. And that resistance is accelerating.
You see, when it comes to my son, I am the expert. I am the expert.
Okay? It was no surprise when the pushback came from parents at the meeting in mama bear mode, making plain the fact that this component of wokeism is categorically unwelcome in Haddonfield, that it is imperative for teachers to limit their contact with students to the teaching of authorized subject matter only.
The mama bear fights back with everything in her to protect her offspring. And as a result, those of you who live near wild will know this. When you see a bear cub anywhere, no matter how cute and cuddly it looks, you do not near it, right? Because you know somewhere nearby, Mama Bear lurking, and she will take no prisoners.
Well, that's the call of the wild, but it's not much different in the civilized world. Speakers at the BOE microphone made it very clear. Upshot of it all, actually announced early in the meeting, is that the board has decided to shelve the revisions for the time being. This is good, and it will be good if the whole idea is shelved permanently. And now, on to the meeting excerpts.
As the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't really have that's exciting. So, Bogart, I'm a teacher at high school. This is Megan McCarthy from the Two Social Studies, and we're both advisors for the United Nations program. This is a little
And that's when we followed up with the president of Strauss Esme, Joan Lohman and Phil Castro, who informed us that they are currently working on a revised version of that policy. And for us, it didn't make good sense to continue a rather contentious discussion on both sides of the argument when there's a pending new revision coming in that our policy committee will have to review and consider.
First, I'd like to preface my comments by saying that disagreeing with the board on certain policies or proposals should never be equated with a lack of recognition or appreciation for the hours volunteer time that you put into this. Expressing concern over how these policies might change the dynamics in some teachers' classrooms shouldn't be equated with a lack of respect, appreciation, or support for the many fantastic teachers that we have in this district. I read this, I thought, why now are we spending our time on this right now? Implementing a brand new policy on the renaming our schools. Our students
improved flow of communication, collaboration amongst the parents, the board, and the school administration. Parental awareness and sign-off should be a priority starting now. I know personally that I have emailed over the past 3 years a few different times on controversial issues, and I either got no response, followed up again with no response, and then I've also emailed to ask certain questions about how to get involved, and I was rebuffed. So I want everybody to know that this goes on. We need more transparency, and somehow we need to work with the parents so that they understand what the policy changes are, the regulations, and the curriculum changes. Thank you.
But as I reflect on this mission statement, I want to challenge you to look at this critically, which is part of the mission statement, because I believe the district is failing in its own mission. We have 4 children right now of school age, and we don't feel like it's a safe and respectful environment for our children. We don't feel like this district nurtures, inspires, and empowers our children. We think it puts them in an at-risk environment.
So through the grapevine, I don't know the codes, what's being talked about, but some of this verbiage that may come up in some of the curriculum is disgusting. Some of it's very frightening for me. So real quickly, are you going to be talking to these young kids as early as 4th grade about illicit sex, masturbation, mutual masturbation, same sex? I just need to know, because I think the parents really are here because they're ramping up to ask these questions at one point. I've heard through the grapevine that you are going to be speaking about this. I've heard that you're not, and I think it needs to be cleared up.
I have 2 short stories that I think will help everyone understand my hesitancy with what was being presented with that policy. The first story was pre-pandemic, so like 100 years ago. One of my children was in a class where the entire class was asked to raise their hand and share their practiced religion. The class was fairly diverse, but most landing Christian, specifically Catholic. And when a student then asked the teacher if that's what she practiced referencing Christianity, she replied, and I quote, "Oh my God, no, it's all stupid. It's just ridiculous." Most of my experience with our teachers has been stellar, but allowing teachers' opinions to be included in their lessons, knowing the power of their authority and sometimes admiration their students hold for them, is not okay. Teachers should be teaching and, of course, nurturing, but sharing their opinions, their political views, or what they think about a student's faith or gender identity does not belong in a classroom setting. It is over the line and completely unacceptable. Just like myself, teachers are hired for their skill, not their opinions. It's not just about homosexuality, but sexuality in general. My husband and I work fiercely to protect our children's minds and hearts, to allow them a chance to simply be a kid in today's upside down world of hate and division. They're too young to carry load, and I can't and will not have anyone impose upon them what they think is best for my children. No one knows what is best for them better than my husband and I do, and I can assure you that teaching them sex ed at an inappropriately young age, before their brain is even able to effectively process it, is not in their best interest.
Well, they might want to change the word from controversial to objectionable, because that's the issue, that there are many people who object to these issues being even brought up. These kids are here to learn subject matter, and there's plenty of subject matter that they could be taught instead of discussing these important issues, because they're not important issues, they're objectionable issues, and they're important.
And there's just so many things on the agenda that the school seems to need to be dealing with. And I support the fact that really it's about the education that the kids need to have to go forward. That doesn't mean you exclude things. It doesn't mean you don't have controversial conversations about things, but they have a place and they have a priority. And right now, we're upside down. If you can envision a pyramid, we've turned it upside down, and the smallest of things get the most direct and emotional attention. So I really think that we need to be focused on where our kids and what our kids are going to be learning and what they're going to be taking forward. And this lady is talking about her child at an age that has to do with sexuality issues. I think we really need to rely on the parents for those kinds of things. And whatever that appropriate age happens to be, I'm not the one to determine that, but clearly this audience in large measure happens to be. So focus on the things that are going to be getting them places in life, not teaching them sex ed and all kinds of other things at an age that is really difficult for them and their minds, which aren't even fully developed, to be able to sort through.
And just keep in mind how students just idolize their teachers. So especially at the younger age, they want to dress like them if they wear a new dress. They want a car if they have a cool car. So just keep in mind that while you're reviewing your policy. Thank you so much for your time.
The reason why I'm speaking is twofold. One, I presume that one of the controversial topics is racism and the way we teach history in our country. I recall learning about slavery and then learning nothing until Martin Luther King. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that happened and a whole bunch of laws that were passed, which continue to drive the profound disparities that we see. For instance, we now know that the reason why Black mortality and morbidity for mothers and for infants is due to racism. It's due to the daily racist experiences that they have. I took it upon myself because as a primary care nurse practitioner, I treated way too many young women who did not have the knowledge they needed in middle school and in high school to make wise decisions. And so I ended up having the sex talk with them. And when you think about sexual education in fourth grade or whatever grade it is age appropriate, intimate. No, you guys,
Actually, I up until this point, I have been thrilled with the civility and the discourse. So everyone should get their turn and maybe please direct your comments toward us.
I came back almost 17 years ago. When I came here, I found out a lot of people, Americans born and raised here, don't know about the United States Constitution, laws, and everything the way I've learned. I came here and I love this country, and I loved it because of the Constitution, which unfortunately I see recently a lot being torn, stepped upon, and disrespected because people don't understand the history behind it. As a teacher, for history. We are not supposed to defend history. We're supposed to teach it so we can learn from it. We're not supposed to give our opinions about it because it's not our space and place to do so. We're supposed to teach the kids so they will know and learn, and this is our lesson learned for the future, what we should be aware. I came from a country where politics is every single night on the kitchen, on the table, and we always converse.
Page, Haddonfield Equity Coalition. Many in the room, along with some of these board members, are a part of this private Facebook page. That teachers should not be able to share their personal opinions on controversial issues in the classroom. The response posts that I have seen from people in this room and this town are deplorable. How then do you expect a student in this school district with the endorsement and power of words made by their teacher's own opinion on a controversial issue to be able to share their own opinion in a class or on their own Instagram page?
Now that you've had a peek at where most of your tax dollars are going, I hope you'll join in the effort to help guide the board in providing the top-notch education we all love to brag about. Things won't get better until John Q. Public weighs in now and in November. We have an important election coming up, and we need thousands of clear-headed voters, and we need at least 3 stalwart candidates to step up, ready, willing, and able to take the lead in making things right with Haddonfield's treasured school district. We can overcome the odds and the oddballs if enough of us step up one way or the other. If you can't run, then vote. And thank you for watching.